All right, go ahead and grab your tissues because it's time. It's long overdue. I'm about to go ahead and tell my life testimony thus far because the Lord ain't done with me yet. I feel like I know that God has called me to share because so many people be going through, and like you just never know who has been through the same experience or going through the same experience or getting ready to enter into the same experience. And so I don't believe that our life is for nothing. I don't believe that we go through stuff just to go through it. I believe that in everything, God can get the glory and we'll get the glory out of our lives. So here we go. First part. So when I was born, about 6 months later, my mom passed. I never knew her. She passed of leukemia. And so I was told that I was, living with my grandparents. I didn't find out until I was an adult that my father tried to get us, it was myself and I have two older brothers. My father tried to get us to raise us, but my grandfather would not allow it. Why, I do not know. They're both deceased. My father passed when I was 16. I only met him like a couple of times that I can remember, and every time I met him, it was amazing. He was just a short period of time that I had. I got the genuineness of a person and stories that I've heard from relatives of just how great of a person he was. So, I ended up staying living with my grandparents till about 5. At the age of 5, I was adopted by my uncle and aunt, my mother's brother. And this is where life really took a turn for the hurtful. I don't know what other word to use. So a couple of years later, about the age of 7, my uncle started to molest me. And I never will forget it. It was so crazy. So he was this guy that like everybody loved. Even I loved in the beginning because I just thought that he was, just such a great person, like help people, always had stuff and things like this. And this is back in like 95. And so we went to the store one night because before, like I said, before anything went down, he was like this great uncle. So I used to always love going places with him. I remember as a kid I would go to work with him. He drove 18-wheelers and stuff. So back then he would take me to work with them and all of that type of stuff. I remember this one particular night we went to the store and he went and got condoms. And I didn't know it back then because I was only 7. Now looking back, I knew what they were. And he said, I am going to show you what love is, or something to that effect, so that you'll know and so you'll understand what it is. And we got back to the house that night, and he would wait till my aunt go to sleep, and he would come into my room and start touching me. And that's when my innocence was lost and gone. I don't have no mama. I don't have no daddy. And when I think I do finally have some parents, it's not what it seems. And I'm sorry, I'm emotional. I only talked about this a couple of times to like close people, and like you get to talking and stuff, it still be hitting. And so, it went on for some years, and my aunt was really mean to me. I don't know if she had to know. She was just mean. Like, it was, I grew up with two other girls in the home. Like, all of their kids were adopted. It was three girls, and they all were adopted. They didn't have biological children. And she treated the other two children who were younger than me so much better and different than me. It was like she hated me. She couldn't stand me. I don't know why. I'm just a kid. And I will always ask God, like, why am I here? Like, why would you allow me to stay and to be in this? Like, why would you take my mother instead of taking me? And I didn't know my mama, but I'm just like, God, this don't make sense to allow me to be going through this. Like, you could have just, but that's a demonic spirit, guys. If you ever feeling suicidal or anything, that's demonic. That's demonic. It's not of God. There's always a better way. I don't care how hurt, how low, how dark it may seem. That's never the answer. Seek help immediately. You can always dial 988. Seek help. To take your own life, to not want to be here. That is not the plan that God has for you. So always know that that's the money. It is. But so I'm about 9 years old. And I don't know how the conversation comes about, but I have this older cousin. She's like probably about 6-7 years older than me. She was always mean to me, but like, older cousins do. And so I tell her, because I was so scared, because he told me, don't tell nobody. If you tell people, bad things are going to happen. Nobody will ever understand, and all of this type of demonic stuff. And so I tell her, it's like she just created this safe space. And I tell her, and she takes me to my aunt, not his wife, but another aunt. And I tell her, she doesn't believe me. They're like, no, he wouldn't do that. He does a lot of stuff, but he wouldn't do that. I don't believe you. I'm 9 years old. Why would I make this up? So then they tell another aunt. And she kind of believed me, but she didn't know what to do. And so finally they tell my aunt, who I'm living with, I'm calling her mom, which is his wife. They tell her, I remember coming home from school one day and I just couldn't take it no more, and I told her. And she tells me, did this really happen? Would you really, like, why would you say that? You trying to get my other girls taken out the home? And she asked him. This man swore on a Bible that he did not do it. And we sitting there going back and forth. We were in the kitchen. And I'm like, yes, you did. You do touch me. You've been coming in my room. And he swore up and down. He's like, that's my niece. That's my dad's sister child. I wouldn't do that. And I'm like, yes, you did. Like, so, my aunt sends me to stay with her older sister. I have to leave the house. I'm the one getting touched, and I'm the one who has to leave the house. Which was fine with me, because the older sister was so much better than her. She was like, she actually treated me like I was a kid or somebody. Like, she was always nice, and so I was fine with going over there. I'm away. I'm out of this. And she would have kept me. But because my aunt them had adopted me, they was getting a check from the state. So after a week, she calls for me to come back because she don't want to give up the money. And they won't. I'm already in the system because I've been adopted. The other girls are adopted. We're getting a check from the state because they are foster parents and have adopted children. But didn't tell. Told me don't tell nobody else, don't go to school to tell nobody. And all of this type of stuff. And I think at that point is when I just really became silent. I remember praying every night, like, I just wanted to be with my real father. I just remember waiting, and wanting my father to just come and take me away from there. Wanting my father to get me and my brothers, and we live with him, and, just be raised by him. And it was really hard because I got to stay in this house where I was getting molested. Everything's out the bag. And once everything was told, he stopped. And he just definitely treated me like garbage at this point. And I remember my aunt would tell me things like, you're a pervert and all of this. And I'm like, what? And she would tell me how evil I was and how demonic, and me and my uncle were sick, and I'm like 9 years old. Why? And so I grew up being hated, never feeling love, never wanted to be there. I started working at the age of 15, I started working. I tried to do everything because they didn't want me to leave the house, school, come home, couldn't go over friends, none of that type of stuff. It was a fight. It was a hassle. And so I got a job. That was the only way I could get out the house because I got a job and the check comes to them. So that was about the only way I started having free time. And, here we are 15. I've gotten molested again by 2 cousins. And I just really hate myself at this point. I don't get it. And so God really began to deal with me at 16. I remember I would be in class on a lunch break. I'll be the only one in the classroom on our lunch break, and I'll be writing down scriptures. I'll start writing down scriptures every day. And every morning I would wake up with a gospel song. And I'm 16 years old. I don't know what quite the Lord is doing, but he's drawing me and pulling me closer to him. And so I remember at 16, I was so tired of remembering the last person on me being my uncles and cousins that I started talking to this guy and I slept with him. And I was just like, no, wasn't it. Because a lot of times when people have been molested, sexually assaulted, it's just so many different scenarios that can go about. They'll turn to drugs. They'll start sleeping with even more people. They'll start sleeping with people because when you're molested, you're not choosing to sleep with nobody. You're being forced. So they will start sleeping with people and just different things. It's demonic. It's perversion. It's nothing but the enemy. And so that wasn't it. And I'm just like, nah, the Lord, I just got to get in God. Just got to learn more about God. So I started going to church, started learning more about God. And it's like this time in my life, it's just kind of like a numbness. I'm just waiting to 18. Everything else is a blur. I'm just trying to get to 18 so I can get out of there and I can leave. I'm working. I'm going to school. I'm getting good grades so that I can get a scholarship and I can go to college and I can get up out of here. Because at this point, I resent them. I hate being there. I'm resentful. I can't. I'm just like, no. And in the midst of this, we got to go back, like, around this time my father passes at 16. So I really feel hopeless because I'm like, okay, I really, any chance of being able to go and live with my father, that's definitely over. Now, like, you know, it's over. And I remember, like, I just had so much, I just couldn't take any more. Took a whole bottle of pills. Took a whole bottle of pills and tried to end my life. And I'm so thankful that it didn't work. I'm so thankful that God had mercy on me. Because that could have been it. And so I go off to college. And I couldn't even fully focus on school because my aunt is constantly calling me. They're constantly asking me for money. They're constantly, I'm having to send money back home. For what? I'm having to do all of this stuff. And they had such a strong hold, such a tight grip on me that even though I've gone through this trauma and experienced all of this stuff in their hands, they still have control. And we need to stop saying like, oh, that's your family. You got to deal with them. No, I don't. I got to forgive them because that's what God tells me to do. And I can love them from a whole distance. But I do not have to be in their presence. I do not have to allow them into my space. I don't hate them anymore. I can truly pray for them now. I can truly pray that they accept Jesus as their Lord and Savior. But I do not have to allow them in my space, and I don't. And I think we need to stop saying that, like, oh, that's your family. You gotta be around them. You gotta be around them. Y'all don't. No. That's traumatizing. That's re-triggering. I don't have. You don't. No. Like, it's one of those things. That's why you have 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds walking around here still going to the family function hurt. Because the people that hurt them still at the same family function. And nobody dealt with it. And they never was able to get away. Because they was always told, you still got to come around them. That's your family. You still got to love them. You still love them because God tells us to love. But you do not. I don't believe, and I don't. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but to be around them, I don't have to allow that. So, I only was away at college for 1 year. Ended up coming back home. And back miserable. And I'm like, why? Just why? Like, you know everything you've been through here. Like, why, girl? Like, couldn't get away, couldn't break away, trying to say they taking every dime I got. And I had this best friend I met in high school, and we were really close friends. And she ended up like noticing things and pointing out things, and we started going to church together. I invited her to church, and then she found this really good church when I had came back from college, and we started attending. And it was like so amazing. So amazing. It was just what I needed. And it's at this time, I'm like 20, the Lord began to like just start breaking down walls. It wasn't until I was 21. I'm 34 now. Excuse me, it wasn't until I was 21 years old that I told my best friend what had happened. I had been knowing her since I was 16. And I remember the pastor preaching a message on it one day, and it was so intense. So I got up and I walked out in the middle of the message because I'm just like, it's like the John P. Key, what's that name? John P. Key, yes. I was like, you don't know my story. Like, that song was so popular at that time, and it was so true. Like, just thinking about what I had been through, what God had brought me through, and how it was still so much stuff that was covered, that was still hidden, that they needed to come out. Like, so much stuff still attached to me. And so, I'm in church. I'm doing good. Still going through a lot. But being in church and really getting the word of God, I'm really getting fed, is helping me. And little by little, I'm getting stronger. And I'm on the right path. And so one of the things I wanted was to be married. Because I grew up never feeling love. So I wanted to be married. I wanted to be loved. And I had the wrong thought. If I get married, then I'll be loved. You got to love yourself first. Even though you've gone through trauma, you've been through things, you have to allow the Lord to love you. You have to allow yourself, and you have to, you can't look for fulfillment in other people, because other people are broken just as well. Other people have been broken just as well. They are broken. We're all in some type of process that we're healing, I believe. And so that's why a lot of times we get into relationships, because we're looking for the person to complete us, and it's only God that can complete us. The other person will complement. We can work well together. We can build and we can grow. But completion comes from the Lord. And so I ended up getting into a relationship. I'm about 23. I ended up getting into a relationship. I had a couple of relationships before that, but they were not as serious. They didn't last. It's not much. But this relationship would be 10 years of my life. And it started off good, and then it turned to sand. Because I'm not married, and I'm fornicating. And so that set me back a lot, because I felt regretful. I was sorry, because I'm disappointing God, because he's doing all of this for me. Like, the greatest thing is, like, he's put me in a church where I'm really getting fed and taught the word. I can really grow, and I finally get to a place of some peace, with some peace. And then I go and I backslide, and still catching hell from the family. I don't regret this relationship, because some stuff needed to happen. And I'm going to tell y'all that next time. I'll talk to y'all later.